All right, I call this meeting of the Magnolia Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meeting Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. If everyone would please stand while Mr. Joe Duncan leads us in our invocation, and then remain standing for the pledges.
It's been a long-standing tradition in MISD to say a prayer before our board meeting. If you'd like to, please bow your head and join us. Dear Lord, we thank you for letting us gather here tonight, and we thank you for all the blessings you bestowed upon our district, and especially tonight, I'd like to thank you as my service comes to an end tonight with the district. I'd like to thank you for all of our parents, our students, our teachers, our principals, our administrators, and this fabulous board. Lord, you know what a fabulous district this is. You know how fabulous all of our kids are, all of our parents are, our teachers, our administrators, principals, our constables. Lord, I ask you to please continue to bless them as you've always done. I ask you to keep all of us safe. Help all of the folks be strong, courageous, and brave, and keep doing the right thing. We have a fabulous district, Lord, and we ask you to please keep it that way. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right, at this time, if our students of the month would come up, we're going to have Summer lead us in the U.S. Pledge, followed by Joanne saying the Texas Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God,
one and indivisible. All right, good job. Okay, now we'll have Magnolia Parkway Elementary Principal Megan Baker to please come forward and present your student, Joanne Posey.
Thank you, Dr. Stevens and board, for giving us this opportunity this evening to recognize our Student of the Month. Joanne Posey is a fourth grade student at Magnolia Parkway Elementary. Here with her tonight is her mother, Misty, her father, Brian, and we also have numerous MPS staff members here to celebrate her, including our assistant principal, Dr. Sarah Bellini, our academic coordinator, Kelly Llewellyn, and fourth grade teachers, Dana Paskett and Sally Inslee. Joanne has been part of the MPES community since first grade and is an active member of the student leadership team. This team responsibilities are such as being a member of the Safety Patrol, the Big Sister, Big Brother Mentor Program, and managing our Bark Buck store. Joanne is known for her helpful, kind, and compassionate nature. She leads by example and always maintains a positive attitude. Joanne was selected as the Student of the Month by an overwhelming consensus from teachers and staff. I thought this quote from one of Joanne's teachers summed up what all the staff had to share about her. Joanne works conscientiously and diligently and always strives to do her best. It is clear that she cares deeply about her education and becoming the best overall person she can be. Joanne's strong sense of responsibility and character make her a great peer role model. Joanne shows true leadership and how you should carry yourself inside and outside of the classroom. Through our recent discussion together, it was actually determined that she and I share a common favorite thing about school. When I asked her what her favorite thing about school was, she responded, without hesitation, definitely the teachers. I do agree. Joanne stated that teachers have always been there to talk with her and work through anything on her mind. She said MPES has teachers that actually understand you. She plans to attend the University of Texas or Texas A&M, where she has aspirations of becoming a photographer or clothing designer, as she loves art and both fields allow her to express her artistic side. In a humorous twist, Joanne shared that she is the fashionista of the family. She even helped her 22-year-old brother dress for a family night out because, well, you know, his style is quite questionable. Outside of school, Joanne loves spending time with her family and cooking with them. Her favorite food is her dad's casserole, but she's known in the family for making the best eggs in the house. We know this will not be the last time Joanne is recognized for her great character and academic achievements. We are thankful to have been a small part of her journey and are honored to have her represent us as the Magnolia Parkway Student of the Month. Congratulations, Joanne.
All right, and now I would like to have Magnolia West High School Principal, Mr. Jason Morley, come forward and present our secondary student of the month, Ms. Summer Araquay Struther. Did I get that right?
All right, thank you, Dr. Stevens, Mr. Adcox, members of the board. Very pleased to be here with Summer Araquay Struther as our Student of the Month from Magnolia West. Summer is quite accomplished in her four-year high school career. She's in the National Honor Society from 2021 to 2023. She will be in the top 10% of her graduating class at graduation later this month. Summer is the president of the West Debate Society from 2021 to 2023. She founded the MWHS Poets Circle in 2020. Won honorable mention in the Scholastic Arts and Writing Awards Poetry in 2021. Was the UIL Literary Criticism District Champion in 2022, was the UIL Lincoln Douglas Debate District Champion in 2023, and was fourth in the region in UIL Lincoln Douglas Debate this year. Additionally, Summers participated in our band program and taken numerous AP and IB courses. Summer plans to attend the University of Texas at Tyler and plans to become a lawyer. So I emailed her teachers and I asked them just for a couple of comments, and I got some responses. Ms. Burns stated, once in AP psychology, we were having a Socratic circle type discussion. Afterward, I overheard several students talking about how they weren't even sure what some of the concepts that Summer was talking about. She is brilliant. She is absolutely brilliant. And if the lawyer thing doesn't work out, Ms. Burns says you can be a counselor. Mr. Daniel talked about Summer's first debate competition as a freshman, and she went into the competition and her hopes were sky high, and the competition didn't turn out like she wanted it to, and she was very upset. And she came back as a sophomore to that same competition a year later and did not lose a single debate. And then Mr. Daniel said by the time she was a senior, when she walked in the room, people knew that the competition had arrived. Ms. Schilder, her science teacher, said, I know I'm not supposed to say this, but Summer is one of my favorites. Ms. Schilder's secret is safe with me. And the thing that Ms. Schilder brought up multiple times was the fact that not only is Summer very intelligent, but she works with her fellow peers, and she doesn't make them feel any less. She makes them feel like they are on her level, and just her personality has really blown away Ms. Schilder. So Ms. Schilder was very complimentary of you as well. And then Ms. Woodward is currently her IB English teacher. Ms. Woodward also had her when she came in as a freshman in Advanced English 1, and Ms. Woodward was very amazed at just how she's come full circle. She's really grown, her love of literature, and she is one of Ms. Woodward's favorite students. So Summer, it sounds like you have had as much of an impact on the people at Magnolia West as we have had on you, so I thank you for that. Thank you for everything you've done for Magnolia West, and thank you for everything you will continue to do.
All right, Dr. Todd, I think you're next up.
Okay, I was hoping maybe my time wouldn't get here that quick on this, but you're just going to have to bear with me, because sometimes these things, they get a little hard sometimes. But, I was talking to a campus about the retirement of one of our administrators, and I just talked about as time goes by, and after 23-something years of watching this district start and end schools, there's been a lot of people in my tenure who have come and gone in the classrooms and in leadership positions and principals, assistant principals, and over 23-something years that I've been blessed to follow what happens in this district. There's a lot of new faces out there, and we've had some amazing educators work in this district. And I will say that right now we have a tremendous group of administrators in this and teachers in this district. But the other thing that's kind of near and dear to my heart that I deal with is that ebb and flow also happens on our school board, and it's just a natural thing. People come in and they spend time, and they give of their energy and their heart and their talent and their ideas because they believe in what this district is and what it can become. And it just, it's hard after time to let go of some of those people, but again, we know it's natural. Now, some board members, it's easier, like, Steve Cruz right there is one of our former board member. It was real easy to let Steve go, no, Steve, we appreciate you. A round of applause for one of our former board members right there, Mr. Steve Cruz. And I could say that about so many others, and they still come back and share some time with us. But tonight we're going to say sort of farewell to Mr. Joe Duncan, who has served right at about 10 years. I think 2014 we had some conversations about you running for and potentially being on this board and all the ideas that you could bring to this district. And you raised two wonderful daughters, Reagan and Kimberly, and you shared your time, and Sean had to kind of do without you for a lot of things. And I know families here tonight. Would y'all stand up back there? In fact, come on up here. Come on up. And stand here behind Dad. Glad to have y'all here because y'all have been a part of this too, and I know all of us that have had kids are part of it. We know that's a part of our metrics of making decisions because we make the best decisions for our own children, but we're making decisions about everybody else's kids as a part of it. And we know you bring your heart, your talents and your energies to have made Magnolia a better school district since you've been a part of it, Joe. And I want to thank you for your energy. I want to thank you for your quiet thoughtfulness and your reflections given to this board every time you speak. Sometimes it takes you a while to get to that point, but when you speak, we listen. And I just want to assure all of you out there, moms and dad, we are a better school district because Joe Duncan chose to serve and be a part of this. And so from a grateful district, Joe, I will say thank you for your 10 years of service to Magnolia ISD, and you've helped us become the best district we could be under your leadership. And for the family, thank you all so much for sharing him with us. And now he's got a little more time to focus on whatever it is that he needs to focus. I mean, you'll still have us in your heart and be a part. And you come back and you can sit right over there with Steve in that second row right there. So thank you, Joe.
not the...
I'll go first. There I am. Joe, I know we talked earlier, but I just want to say it in front of everybody that, man, as much of a great mind and voice you've been for the district, like I just cherish you as a friend, and I just appreciate the friendship that we've created and just your passion for kids and for teachers, and I know it won't stop. Once you get off the school board, you still will have that mentality, and I just appreciate you and everything I've learned from you, just being around you. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Too. Joe, I really appreciate you. For the time that I've been on here, I've always found you to be a very extremely thoughtful and wise person, and we're going to miss that intellect of yours and all the great advice that you've had, and definitely we're going to miss your sweet family. Hope we'll see you around, though. Thank you.
So, Joe, you know, you're leaving me up here now. I'm now the shortest guy up here, and they're gonna put me next to Travis. I think is probably what they're gonna do. That's the way it seems to work. But no, it's been awesome having you on here. Joe is actually an attorney, you know, but he owns his own business. He travels all over the world, and he's made time to be here when we had our meetings. So. Appreciate that. To Dr. Todd's point, you definitely made a difference. And just more than anything else, I appreciate I can call you a friend.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, if I could just take a minute, I'd like to tell you that this district has given our family so much. And I pray that it gives as much to all of your families and to all the kids that are raised inside this district. It has done so much for us, starting with a principal that wasn't here, is no longer here. Miss Ward, you know, she's still alive, but she's no longer in the district. But I was not I was a little bit worried about public schools. I really was. I had heard some things that really made me worried about them. And I sat down with her. And literally what she said to me was, let me re-educate you about public school. And she gave me all the reasons why my kid should be in a public school, and more specifically, her public school. And our kids then went to Bear Branch. And I've told this story before, but I'll just say it really quickly. Our older daughter one day came home and said, you know, I am really smart. And I said, really? Are you really? She, oh, yeah, I'm very smart, Dad. And I said, well, why do you say that? She said, well, you know, Dad, Mrs. Ward, who's our principal, told me I was smart. And she said, you know, she knows. She's the principal. And I tell you that story to tell you that there's no telling the number of kids that this district has touched and produced. So I want to say thank you to all the parents for reelecting me each year. I want to say thank you to the kids because you're fabulous, and we literally have the best kids in the entire country. I want to say thank you to the teachers. Thank you to the principals. Thank you to the administrators and all the board. It has truly been my blessing to serve this district. So thank you all so much.
I'll be brief, but Joe, I've got to say thank you. Having served with you the whole time you've been here, it's just been fantastic. I don't think you guys realize how somebody like this protects what we have. He's fierce about wanting to protect our district and wants all the best things for our district. He's got such passion, and it bubbles up and at all the right times. And so just a voice of reason, a great friend, a great colleague. We just appreciate you very much. Thank you, Joe.
All right. So as you guys know, each year citizens of this community and district have an opportunity to elect new school board members in the month of May. As presiding officer of the canvassing authority for the Magnolia ISD Board of Trustees election held on Saturday, May 6, 2023, Susie Harvey, Montgomery County Elections official administrator, hereby certifies the following is a total of all the votes received by each candidate and votes received for and against each measure as shown by the precinct returns. Because we have received the results in time for tonight's meeting, there was a special board meeting that was going to have to occur on the 17th, this Wednesday. It can be canceled. Yeah. It was at 6 a.m.?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a good thing. So Mr. Michaels received 365 votes. That is 69% of the vote. Ms. Lofton is who ran against Jay. She received 164 votes. That was 31% of the vote. And position 5, Ms. Norris, received 100% of the votes. All right, 465 votes. So at this time, Ms. Hinkleman, if you will come forward and do the honors of administering the oath of office to our re-elected officials. So yeah, you'll have to go.
If I could have the families of Mr. Michaels and Ms. Norris please come forward. Y'all come on up over here. And y'all come over here. Stacy, can I get you to stand right here? Okay, I'm going to have you guys raise your right hand, and I'll read it, and then, just mom and dad, just mom. We'd love to have you all. And you won't have to repeat, you'll just have to say, I do, okay? All right, here we go. Do you, Jay Michaels and Stacia Norris, solemnly swear or affirm that you will faithfully execute the duties of the office of trustee of the Magnolia Independent School District, Montgomery County of the state of Texas, and will to the best of your ability preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and law of the United States and of this state, so help you God?
I do.
Congratulations. Congratulations. We're gonna, y'all stay here, and we'll take pictures, okay? Do either of y'all want to say anything? No? Okay.
Todd's saying enough for everybody.
You guys, we're going to shift over here and take pictures over here.
I don't know. It's not that easy. You have a place to sit now.
And so it begins.
And so it begins, yes. All right, so each year when we do have our election, as soon as it's been certified and we've sworn in our new members, we reorganize our board, and that's done by the board. So the floor is now open for nominations for board president, vice president, secretary, and assistant secretary.
Chuck, I'll make a motion for an idea. I'd like to make a motion to propose reorganization of the board to look like the following as we transition with outgoing and incoming board members. Gary Blizzard, look to slide into the seat of president. Travis to remain as vice president. Sonia has been acting as assistant secretary, and she would be perfect for shifting into the secretary role. And then I would be willing to step up as the assistant secretary.
Does anybody have any discussion, any other ideas? All right, then I need a motion that the Magnolia Independent School District Board of Trustees will now reorganize in the following officer positions. Gary will become president, vice president Travis, Sonia is secretary, and Dasha is our assistant secretary. Does anybody want to make that motion? Sonia made the motion. Anybody want to second it? Travis seconded it. All in favor? Motion carries. So that is my last official thing to do as president. I get to sit down there, Gary, and you get to have this seat. So if I can say something, it's been an honor working with you guys as president. I've enjoyed it. I think change is always good, right? And so I've been in that role for a couple of years now, so this is an opportunity for another person to be in that role. And Gary, I know you know the role, and there has been, you guys have seen, there's been, quite a few new board members over the last few years. So I think that adds stability to our board that you're in the position that you're in. But just appreciate you guys. It's easy to be the president of a school board where the school and the parents and the kids are what we have here. I got to tell you, if you watch some of the meetings on the television, I would not want to be on that school board, right? So appreciate the administrators. You guys have been great to work with, and certainly appreciate all the board members. Great team, and Gary knows that. So appreciate you.
No, thank you, Chuck. We're here to state the obvious, we're here to serve and not be served. I mean, and we want to support this district with every fiber of our being. That's why we do what we do. It's a volunteer job. I mean, and it doesn't matter. I mean, we're a board of 7 equals, and it doesn't matter what chair we sit in. And I'm honored for us to move around and do what we did, but I think we ought to recognize Chuck's service for having done this for 2 years and just say thanks a million to this guy for doing what he's done. So thank you, Chuck. So thank you all. I guess now we're back on track.
Back on track. We got Dr. Garza, Teacher of the Month. He's already coming up.
All right, good evening, Mr. Blizzard, Dr. Stevens. Sorry, it's too quick for me. Members of the board, it is my pleasure tonight to present the Teacher of the Month for the month of May. Ms. Corvipius, Ms. Berry, come on up, please. Our winner tonight is Miss Tracy Berry. She is a kindergarten teacher from Magnolia Elementary. This is her 25th year in the district with us, and I believe that's the best we've done so far as Teacher of the Month the last 3 years. 25 years, all at MES. She's taught K1 and 2 for all those years. I have a kindergartner or a 5-year-old, and that's a lot. I can attest to that myself. And so when we went and informed her of her winning the award, she was doing a small group session like she's supposed to, and we walked in, and it was almost like, guys, get here so I can go back to teaching. I mean, she was very much like, okay, let's get it over with. And, but our team in the C9 world gushes about her. They say that she will do anything for kids. Donna gushes about her. She is just a model employee, and we are so blessed to have you in our district.
Miss Berry is an amazing teacher. I got a couple of teachers together and some people, and I said, hey, we love Miss Berry. There is no doubt in our mind we love Miss Berry. Our staff is here to recognize her. Our staff, stand up. We are so excited to recognize Miss Berry. Let me just tell you a little bit about her. Whenever there's something we want to try new, and we're like, hey, Miss Berry, we want to try this, what are your thoughts? And she says, will it grow my kids? And we're like, yes, it will. We believe it's going to grow your kids. And she says, then I'll try it. She has the great growth mindset that we're looking for in everybody. She's really nervous, and so we thought, hey, she's going to be able to do this. She's an amazing teacher. She comes to kids' events. She goes to their baseball games. When we had volleyball, we didn't win, but she came to every one of our practices, and she came to our game, and she cheered us on. And if I ever want to know what's going on, I walk by Miss Berry's room, and she always has people in there. They're always asking her opinion. They're always asking, what do you think, Miss Berry? And every time I go in there, there's just a crowd of people around her, whether it's during their specials and they have a moment, or after school. She's the last one to leave. She's the first one to get there. And every time I go in there, she always has friends sitting there, and they're always working with her and helping her any way that they can. And she does the same for them. So we're so happy to recognize Miss Berry this month. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
I have been teaching 25 years. This is my 25th year, all here at MES. I come back every day because I love what I do. I love teaching the kids. I love watching them learn and that light bulb going off. I love watching them come to school excited, and that's what keeps me coming back every day. It's going to bring tears to my eyes. I just absolutely love when they come in not knowing anything, not even knowing how to write their name, to being able to write, read. It just makes my heart happy. I love building the relationships with the kids, because relationships is the first thing they need before they can open up and learn. If they have that relationship with you, they want to please you, they want to please themselves, and they want to be a special person in your life, and all my kids are special people to me. My why is because I don't remember when I was going through school any teacher specifically that made a difference in my life, and I want to be that teacher for some of these kids.
We don't have our MEF elections until Thursday, so this is my final Teacher of the Month to do for MEF. I'm thrilled to be here to represent the Magnolia Education Foundation and all of our volunteers. What you said at the very end about going through all of those years and not being able to remember someone, and you want to be that for the children, it makes me want to cry. I mean, it's because that's every mother's and every parent's goal, is that when you look back on your life, your kids will have that special someone that meant something and stood out. And so I'm sorry for your experience, but you're turning it into gold for our students. So thank you so much for that. So on behalf of all of our sponsors, HEB, Chick-fil-A, we would like to congratulate you as being the Teacher of the Month. Thank you so much.
Can we go over there? Okay, I'm up again. So tonight we have 3 of our campuses are going to receive a pretty distinguished academic award in that they are being named professional learning community model schools. And before we get into giving them that award, I want to kind of go into what exactly that means and why it's so important to us, and also why is this not working. Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay, so the PLC process. It is this is the anchor or the foundation of our academic system in Magnolia ISD. This drives our curriculum, our instruction, our assessment practices. It drives our staffing. It drives our bell schedules. Everything that we do in my world revolves around this process. It is ingrained in our culture, and our teachers and principals have done a great job putting this into play. And I truly believe this is why we were an A district in the last accountability ratings. The PLC process is driven by 3 big ideas. And this all seems very simplistic in nature, but the work that goes on behind the scenes to achieve this is very high level. First one, focus on learning, culture, collaboration, and being results oriented. So to achieve all that requires a lot of time and effort on the teacher end, and each campus really has to put a lot of time and effort into making sure that there's no barriers in place to achieve that. So on the first part, focus on learning. So every week we ask our teams that meet, teams of teachers, to answer 4 critical questions of the PLC process. First and foremost, what do we want our students to learn? So we, as a curriculum department, we give our teachers documents, scope and sequences, so forth, assessments, resources, all those things. And we ask them to really study the TEKS each week and determine how the level and complexity of those TEKS so that they can go then make assessments that meet those standards. Question number 2, how will we know when they learn it? So we ask teams to develop common formative assessments. So they make small assessments every week or every 2 weeks, so to speak, where they are assessing the learning of that first question. So then they can determine, did the kids get this information or not? Once we've done those first 2 questions, then we move into question number 3 and 4. And this is where the interventions take place in question 3. We want to make sure that if kids didn't get the material, we have things in place so that they can go back and reteach. And on question 4 is how do we respond whenever kids did get the material? That is for the students that got it. So how can we deepen their learning? So for teachers to really go through each of these questions takes a lot of time and effort. They meet weekly on this. They make fantastic units and lessons. But this is a lot of work, and it requires a high level of collaboration from our teams. This is not working. Okay, there you go. And so we asked our teams to share best practices, share ideas. They develop assessments. They're studying the TEKS. And in many cases, they're actually sharing students across class to class. Okay. Whoops. And then last but not least, we asked also to be results oriented. So all of our campuses have some pretty succinct data protocols in place, so that after each assessment, they're looking at every kid, every groups of kids, sub-pop, so forth, to make sure that each kid is growing. So doing all that takes a lot of time and effort, and this is something that we harp on throughout the entire year. And like I said, it has fundamentally changed our academic system. So it's not, we have 3 schools that are being recognized by our Solution Tree representatives. We have Jennifer Ivey here and Darren Grissom. We have 3 schools that have achieved being model school status. We have 2 more schools that are actually in process. We hope to hear about that soon. And then I think by this time next year, we will have all of our schools, or almost all of them, in that process. And so they can kind of tell you the numbers, but this is a very prestigious award.
Thank you, Dr. Garza. Dr. Stevens, newly elected President Blizzard. Kind of threw my notes here for a loop, but congratulations. And other trustees, I'm honored to be with you this evening to recognize the commitment of Magnolia ISD to ensure the academic success of every single child in your district. My name is Darren Grissom. I'm the State Executive Director for Solution Tree here in Texas. I'm here with my colleague, Jennifer Ivey. And we have the pleasure of celebrating with districts all over the state. But this is unique to have 3 schools being recognized at the same time, with more to come. So congratulations to everyone. I know that Dr. Garza spoke about professional learning communities, but I want to take just a moment to reiterate, yes, there's this framework with four critical questions, but the true power of professional learning communities lies within your dedicated and extremely talented campus leadership and educators. The PLC framework has tons of different facets to it: meaningful collaboration, relevant and accurate assessment, targeted and effective intervention, and very importantly, challenging rigor and enrichment. These are all parts of the PLC at Work process, but this particular recognition, make no mistake, it is about student growth. Any campus that receives this designation, we have 93 campuses in Texas that have received this designation, must show 3 years of student growth over time, and particularly at this time coming out of COVID. This is remarkable when you go back and see how districts had to pivot to online learning, then hybrid learning, and then bringing kids back to school. So significant achievements by these campuses. And it's also, it's not a popularity contest. It's not about how many PD days you've done with Solution Tree or conferences or book studies. The single factor in this, we created this award and recognition to recognize educators who are doing the right work and helping students grow. And this is not just for Magnolia schools, this is an entire community achievement. You have to have innovative and exceptional leaders like Dr. Stevens, Dr. Garza and their teams, and the Board of Trustees who continually provide the resources for the necessary training and time on the calendar for teachers to do this work. So everyone in this community can celebrate in this award. So first up was the very first model school that we designated here in Magnolia, which is Magnolia Junior High. I had the pleasure actually of going to Magnolia Junior High several weeks ago when this was first announced, and had a nice sort of announcement there, and former administrators and teachers came back to help celebrate, and it really speaks to their testament of building a lasting culture of success. They started their PLC journey 8 years ago, and so to see those people come back and they've been able to continue the work even though the junior high team has changed over the years is really what PLC at Work is all about. And they've done that by creating a culture of learning for both students and adults. When we say that we want to ensure learning for all, that's not just the kids. That's every person in your system. We want them to have this culture of learning. So join me in congratulating Principal Slater and his team, the very first Model PLC at Work. And he already has his nice certificate and banner because we came out to the campus earlier. So we'll have him come up and then we'll do pictures at the end. Perfect. Next up, we have our second designation, which was Magnolia Parkway Elementary. Dr. Baker has led her team not only to academic success, but has also maintained a focus on the overall wellness of her faculty. A model of continuous learning and collaboration, the Magnolia Parkway team has moved from it being about my kids to being to our kids, and they have the results to show for it. Congrats to Magnolia Parkway Elementary. And last but not least, we have Magnolia Intermediate. A cornerstone of the PLC at Work process is effective collaboration, and this campus had a very unique challenge as it was made up of several campuses that were consolidated together. So lots of different viewpoints coming together, lots of different cultures, lots of different viewpoints. Admittedly, they had their obstacles, but a positive culture and a focus on the 4 critical questions won out, and this campus, which had a D rating at one time, received a B in the latest state ratings. Congratulations to Ms. Bertrand on her retirement, I understand, so congratulations to you, and congratulations to Magnolia Intermediate.
Congrats to those campuses. What a fantastic job.
President Blizzard, if we're going to truly become the best district in the state of Texas, we're going to have to find campuses where collaboration is the order of the day. And I just am so, it does my heart a lot of good to have our campuses recognized for that and know that that's a part of who we are when moving in. And as we always sometimes talked about for a lot of number of years, that, you know, none of us are as smart as all of us. And that is bear true tonight. So thank y'all for your hard work in pulling your teams together.
Yep. It takes a village. All right, Dr. King, I think you're up next. And what better day to have you come up than Peace Officers Memorial Day? Today's Peace Officers Memorial Day.
So Mr. Blizzard, Dr. Stevens, members of the board, thank you for having us here again tonight to recognize some wonderful officers who work in our schools every day. So it's been my pleasure to be up here almost every month this year to recognize a couple of SROs every month. And as I said, we're so blessed to work in a community that supports our police officers and a school board and an administration that has worked really hard to make sure that we have an officer in every single one of our schools active every single day. And one point I try to make, and I know Ms. Orlando or Mr. Morley might echo this, but that our SROs are there to keep us safe, keep our kids safe, our administrators, our teachers, anybody, a parent who walks into the building. We hope they never have to do what they're really there to do. But they're also there to build relationships with our kids and let them know that our officers are community members just with us. They want to build a relationship with them, and they want to have a positive impact on their life, just like the teachers and administrators and the parents want to as well. And so I think that's a big point that we like to make, that our SROs are there for. So without any further ado, I'm going to hand the mic over to Ms. Orlando.
Thank you, Dr. King. As he said, my name is Loretta Orlando. I'm the principal at DAEP. I'm pleased to have the opportunity to publicly thank Deputy Terry Davis and to tell you a little bit about him and why he's a great fit for our campus. If you ask Deputy Davis what his role is as an SRO, he would tell you number one is to keep the students and staff safe. Secondly, he would say that he was drawn to DAEP because he offers a very unique skill set that he has acquired over his vast experience in the military and in law enforcement. Deputy Davis went to work in the graphic arts industry out of high school, but that path changed after 9/11. Filled with patriotism and a love of his country, he joined the Navy, where he served as a military police officer and was trained in surveillance and anti-terrorism. In his final year, he was a supervisor in the behavioral unit at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. After 10 years of active service, Deputy Davis joined the Naval Reserves and became a sheriff for Montgomery County. Deputy Davis and his wife Candace, who is with us tonight, raised a son and a daughter who both attended and graduated from Magnolia West, during which time he was active in the Magnolia FFA. Getting closer to retirement, Deputy Davis recently decided to join the constable's office as a school resource officer. He is a great fit for DAP because of his desire to be a role model and a mentor for the at-risk students who spend time with us throughout the year. Deputy Davis, thank you for your service to our country. Thank you for the job you do for us every day, keeping us safe and offering hope and guidance to our students through your vast experience and unique perspective on life. We truly appreciate you.
Thank you, Ms. Orlando. Thank you, Deputy Davis. Mr. Morley.
Thank you. I walked over to Deputy Zaff, and he goes, now, I heard all the things you said about Summer. I better get some of those compliments, too. Deputy Zaff has not been with us very long. He came to us a couple of months ago. It was kind of bittersweet for us at Magnolia West because we really enjoyed Deputy Justice, but The first day that I met Deputy Zaff, we're standing on the crest. It's about 6:45 in the morning. We shake hands. 2 seconds later, the radio crackles. He goes, "Got to go." That was the last time I saw him that day. This guy is a tremendously hard worker. He comes in every day. He punches the clock, and he gets it done. A couple other things that I really enjoy about Deputy Zaff. He is a tremendous communicator. He's in my office probably 2, 3, 4 times a day, sending me text messages, keeping me updated on things such as the weather, such as things going on around our school. Constantly, I feel constantly in the loop with Deputy Zaff. The primary thing I love about Deputy Zaff, when I head home from a student event, whether it's a baseball game, a softball game, some sort of competition, he doesn't work all of them, but I guarantee you on the way home I will get a text that says, "Hey, how'd our kids do?" And so that tells me right there, he's not just a constable, he's a Mustang, and we really appreciate that. So thank you, Deputy Zaff.
Thank you, Mr. Morley. Thank you, Deputy Zapp. One more round of applause for our SROs.
Thank you very much.
very
We pray
much.
for you guys, and we appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And if you ever see that big green truck parked out there at West or wherever, don't give him a ticket. That's just a superintendent. Okay.
Okay, Dr. Campbell.
Mr. Blizzard, Dr. Stevens, and board, we want to thank you for having us here tonight. I'm the Career and Technology Director for the district, and I have the greatest job in the world. I wanted to tell you that the flowers today that you see are made by the Advanced Floral Design class at Magnolia West, and the goodies are from the Advanced Culinary Arts. And the teacher for the Culinary Arts is Miss Abby Laskowski, and the teacher for the Floral Design is Miss Maddie Carr. And also every other month we'd alternate with Magnolia High. I want to thank Miss Brooke Gentry, who is the Culinary Arts teacher, and Miss Tiffany Waits, who've been doing that. So we get practice making the flower arrangements for you, which is part of our teaks, and you get the enjoyment. So hope you enjoy those. I want to congratulate you on your election. I want to thank you, and you've joined quite a motley crew, so thank you for doing what you do. I want to, at this time, ask Mr. Quinn and Mr. Morley to come join us up here. Mr. Morley and Mr. Quinn. I want to introduce you to two of our health science teachers. We have a great health science faculty in Magnolia, and the reason we have those is they're led by these two ladies. One is from Magnolia West. Her name is Miss Jerica Norwood. She's right here. Give her a round of applause. And Miss Millie Doty, right here. Give her a round of applause. And I also want to say this. Thank you, Mr. Quinn, and thank you, Mr. Morley, because the things that we do in our classroom, the things we do in our department, cannot be done without your support, and you're constantly supporting us. So that's why I want you up here to honor these students. Thank you for all that you do. You could listen to me ramble on, and I can do that, but I thought tonight I'd have Miss Millie Doty come and tell you a little bit about the Skills USA and these students, because ultimately I thank you two for what you do, I thank you two for what you do, but you two are the reason we're here tonight, and thank you for all you do. So Miss Millie Doty, would you come please tell us about Skills USA and about these two great students?
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Dr. Campbell. So Skills USA is our career and technical student organization. It exists to increase the skilled workforce in our nation in areas such as auto tech, culinary, cosmetology, and we're here representing health science. Students work on personal, workplace, and technical skills and compete in such areas as EMT, CNA, medical terminology, medical math, and then leadership contests such as opening, closing ceremonies, extemporaneous speech, and many others. So these two students here competed at the district, state, and they're going to move on to the national level. First, we have from Magnolia West, we have Ari Gonzalez and her parents, Richard and Jasmine. She competed in the medical assisting contest. She got third at district, but at state she jumped up to number 1. So she's going to be representing West there. And then Victor Gonzalez is going to be he got first place in district and got second place at state, and he's going to be representing us for the Job Skills Demonstration Contest. And Nationals is June 19th through 24th in Atlanta, Georgia. And we're excited. Ari is only a junior, so she's in the CNA class this year. She's going to be in the EMT class next year. So we're excited to have her one more year and see what she does next year in skills. But Victor's leaving us. He's going to be going to Texas Tech next year. So it's an honor to be able to represent these students, to introduce them to you. And thanks for all your support, Mr. Quinn and Mr. Morley.
Those of you that know me know I'm a little bit of a ham, so I tried to catch the students off guard. So I went up to Ari and I said, "Hey, are you ready for your speech?" She goes, "You bet." And so she was ready to go. She pulled a fast one on me. So let's give these students one more big round of applause.
Coach, come join us.
Dr. Stevens, School Board, thank you for this opportunity to recognize athletics tonight. And with me, I've got the Magnolia High School softball team. And so at this time, I'd like to say a few things about them. They were by-district champions and area finalists. The Lady Bulldogs were 22-11 with a 10-5 record in a tough District 21-5A district. They are extremely hardworking, relentless, and tough when it comes to their play on the field, evidenced by the 29 home runs that they hit during the season. The team consisted of 5 freshmen, 4 sophomores, 3 juniors, and 3 seniors, and 1 senior manager. The Bulldogs have 7 all-district players and 8 all-district academic players. And a little tidbit here. We also have a freshman, Stevie South, who represented the U15 women's national team that traveled to Peru and won gold at the Pan American Championships this spring. Ladies, we're extremely proud of your season and everything that you've done this year, all right, and continue to do that hard work. And now I'd like to present or recognize Coach Cooper and her staff. Coach Cooper's here tonight. What a tremendous job she has done for our program and for our girls, and we look forward to continued success. Coach Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Blizzard, Dr. Stevens, and members of the board for having us tonight. I can't speak enough about these young women. They are phenomenal to work with every single day. They come out to play. They buy into our culture. They represent us not only in the classroom, but also on the field. And then also, too, like we really work hard to be leaders, and we work on our leadership skills. So when they go on to the next chapter of their lives, they can be leaders for others and continue to grow our community and wherever their next chapters take them. So I just want to introduce them. So I have senior outfielder Joey Edwards. I have junior shortstop Jade Bubke. Senior outfielder Carson McDonald. Freshman second baseman Haley Moskowitz. I have freshman Ashley Bryan, who is a utility player for us. She does everything, so we really appreciate her. We have freshman catcher Stevie South. We have sophomore utility player Addison Brown. We have also sophomore utility player, mostly plays third base, but also pitches for us, Macy Frank. And we have junior Leah Hammock, who is our golden arm on the mound. So like I said, it was an incredible year for us. We play, I would say we're probably in the best district and region in the entire state. And so every night that we go out to play, we have to come with it. And so we've played some really tough competition, which has allowed us to find success in the playoffs. And so I'm just incredibly proud of these young women and what they represent every single day. So it is a pleasure to be here tonight. Thank you so much.
Great job. Mr. Medina, come join us.
Thank you, Mr. Blizzard, and Dr. Stevens, and members of our school board. My name is Bob Medina, Director of Fine Arts here at Magnolia ISD, and it is an honor to work with our 7 fine arts faculty disciplines, but tonight we are going to focus on our visual arts. It's our largest faculty of fine arts in Magnolia ISD. We have 22 incredible art teachers, and it's led by this young lady right here, our Magnolia ISD Visual Arts Coordinator, Mrs. Jessica McKinney.
Good evening. I'd like to start by expressing my gratitude to Dr. Stevens and the board members for giving me the opportunity to recognize the outstanding accomplishments of our art students. Excuse me. As the Visual Arts Coordinator, my job is to organize events and support our art teachers in all matters related to visual art. Believe me, there's a lot. Just in the months of April and May, our visual arts students from across the district had the opportunity to participate in 8 different art events. These events resulted in various types of recognition, scholarships, and cash awards for our art students. Out of consideration for everybody's time, I will not be recognizing every student for their creative endeavors this year. However, we will be acknowledging our Spring Art Show Best of Show recipients and state VASE qualifiers and medalists. So, first we have the District Spring Art Show students whose artworks were chosen as the best in show. These students received a first place ribbon, a Best of Show trophy, and a scholarship from the district. So students, please join me up front, and teachers.
Don't be shy.
Okay. Our intermediate Best of Show winner, Caitlin McKinney, step forward please, give everybody a wave. A 6th grader who attends Bear Branch Intermediate is receiving a $75 scholarship for her self-portrait titled A Prelude to My Future. Caitlin is the daughter of Michael and Jessica McKinney. Her teacher, Mrs. McKinney, says that Caitlin is an exceptionally talented artist who also excels in many other academic subjects. She also plays the piano. Caitlin's artistic skill sometimes surprises even her art teacher. And Mr. Medina did ask me to mention that Caitlin was the first place winner of the Montgomery County Bookmark Resolution Contest 2 years in a row. The bookmarks came in this morning, and the board members and Dr. Stevens all have one at there. Yeah. And her little sister actually got honorable mention, but she's not here tonight. Thank you. Okay. Next, our junior high Best of Show winner, Winter Stedman. An 8th grader at Bear Branch Junior High receives $100 in scholarship for her pen and ink art titled The Watchers. Daughter of Dorian Stedman, Winter's teacher Kent Byers says Winter has worked exceptionally hard this year at creating her artistic style. She stayed true to her artistic vision, and it is so rewarding to see others appreciate her creativity. Job well done, Winter. Lastly, our high school Best of Show winner, 12th grader Armani Milliner from Magnolia West High School, is receiving a $250 scholarship for her acrylic painting titled Blessed Be the Sheep Who Lead Us. She is the daughter of Lourdes Compton. Armani's teacher, Destiny Ortiz, says Armani is an exceptional artist who has an eye for detail. This is visible in this work that won Best of Show. This was Armani's first time completing an art piece with acrylic paint, and she was able to capture every idea as planned. Armani is a senior who has completed AP Studio Art as her final course in high school. Nice work, huh? Go ahead and sit down. Thank you very much. After recognizing our Spring Art Show Best of Show recipients, we will now move on to recognize our state VASE qualifiers and medalists. If you're unfamiliar with VASE, it's a TAEA-sponsored event. Artworks that receive a superior rating of a 4 at regionals are awarded a regional medal, and a certain percentage of artworks with superior ratings advance to state. These students have shown exceptional talent and creativity in their work. Let's take a moment to congratulate these students. Students and teachers, please join me up front. From Magnolia High School, Brooklyn Baker, a 12th grade student of Ruby Ramirez. Her parents are Abby and David Baker. Brooklyn received a silver medal for Heaven is a Teenage Girl. Brooklyn's teacher, Ruby Ramirez, states she is a very talented senior who has completed her second year in IB Visual Arts, as well as being Magnolia High School's first National Art Honor Society president. With only 2 years of art experience at the high school level, she has made 3 state qualifying pieces and has won a gold seal her first year participating in VASE. Brooklyn never stops improving and works very hard to satisfy her biggest critic, which is herself. She hopes to pursue a psychology major next year with a minor in art. Next is Jimena Garcia. She's an 11th grade student. Her parents are Amalia and Fidel Garcia. Her teacher is Ruby Ramirez. Her piece is titled Del Dia a Dia. Did I say that right? I said that right, yeah. Ms. Ramirez states, Jimena is an outstanding junior who works very hard in perfecting her technique every day. She has completed her second year of art and her first year of being Magnolia High School's first National Art Honor Society secretary. She hopes to become an officer again next year, as well as an art aide to help her fellow students and art teachers. From Magnolia West High School, we have Grayson Bertrand, 11th grader. Her parents are Taylor Rainey. Teacher is Destiny Ortiz. The artwork titled Smile was a state qualifier. Ms. Ortiz says Grayson Bertrand is currently a junior that is enrolled in the IB Visual Arts program at West. Their artwork is inspired by Lucian Freud. This was Grayson's first time making it to state with their artwork. Grayson has competed and accomplished a lot with her work. Next year, Grayson will be an IB Visual student or a senior, where they will exhibit their work and compete in VASE again. Next, we have Audrey Buckley. She's a 12th grader. Her mother is Yulia Buckley. Her teacher is Destiny Ortiz. Her artwork titled Industry Against Nomad, state qualifier. Ms. Ortiz says Audrey Buckley is an IB Visual Arts senior who is always creating amazing artworks. She excels in painting and has a specific style that is reminiscent of Impressionism. She has competed in many art competitions, and this is her first time being a state qualifier. Next, Cynthia Gonzalez, grade 10. Amelia Gonzalez is her mom. Destiny Ortiz is her teacher. Her artwork is called A Magical Day. She was a medalist at state and received a 4 rating at state. That's a pretty big deal. Ms. Ortiz says Cynthia is an Art 1 student who has accomplished a lot in just her first year of art at Magnolia West. She was a finalist at Rodeo Art and now a medalist for the state VASE event. She is always creating art and putting her best effort into everything she does. She plans to continue art by taking the route of IB Visual Arts for the next 2 years. That's great. Francesca Paye, she's a 12th grader. Her mom is Tracy Paye. Her teacher is Marta Huntsman, and this is her piece called Golden Youth. This was a state qualifier. Francesca also received a $100 scholarship award while at the event for an impromptu photograph, so she's a very talented photographer. Her teacher, Miss Huntsman, says Frankie is an artist who experiments with all types of mediums. She is a brilliant photographer, jewelry maker, and illustrator who has a bright artistic future ahead of her. It has been a privilege being her teacher this year. Next, we have Hope Raggio. She's an 11th grader. Her parents are Mindy and Glenn Raggio. Her teacher is Regina Michael. She was a state qualifier for her piece Cat Litter. Miss Michaels states Hope is an Art 2 student. She is a precious creative thinker and skilled artist. Although young, Hope has already developed her own artistic style. Her wit and dry humor is reflected in her art and appreciated by her classmates. And I have to say, every time I see this piece, I chuckle. So good job. I get that dry humor. Judith Rodriguez, an 11th grader. Mom is Maricela Ruiz, and teacher is Destiny Ortiz. Her artwork is Reverie. This received a gold seal medal at state, and she had a piece called Too Loud, which was a state qualifier. She is the only student in the district to have 2 pieces qualify for state. Miss Ortiz shared this is Judy's second time qualifying for state with her artwork. This is her second year taking art at the high school level, and she has been very successful thus far. She is currently in the IB Visual Arts program at West and will finish off her senior year next year, completing the program. Last, we have Beckett Smith. He is an 11th grader, and his mother is Ava Smith. Teacher is Destiny Ortiz. Title of the work is called Forlore. This was a state qualifier. Miss Ortiz states Beckett Smith is currently an IB Visual Arts student who always puts his best efforts in every art piece he does. He has competed in rodeo art and vase regional competition in the past. This is his first year qualifying for state with an artwork. Ladies and gentlemen, let's please give them a round of applause. Thank you. You may be seated.
We'd just like to say that, as you know, as Dr. Garza noted earlier in our PLCs, our students are very well recognized for their academic prowess, if you will, but it's also great to see them also have time in the day to do other things, such as the fine arts, athletics, CTE, ROTC. So what that ends up, in my opinion, doing for our youth of Magnolia is that enables our children to be a well-rounded human being, and we are forever grateful. So thank you, board, thank you, administration, and congratulations to our visual arts students at Magnolia ISD. Thank you.
That's talent I can't relate to. That's pretty amazing. Thank you. So it's an honor and a privilege and a blessing to serve here. And you saw a lot of examples why the first part of this meeting, we get to recognize all these students, and it's just a fantastic part of the meeting. But we're going to shift gears here and go to the business side of the meeting. Before we do, we're going to take a short break. We invite you to stick around. If you don't want to, that's fine. We will take a short break and you can slip out the back. Okay, we're back. Ms. Hinkleman, do we have anybody signed up to speak? No, sir. All right, good. Thank you. All right, Dr. Morris, you're on deck.
All righty. Thank you, Mr. Blizzard. Members of the board, good evening. See if I can get this where I need to. We want to give the board a brief update in terms of what we're hearing in the current legislative session that's going on in Austin, understanding, of course, that even for regular session purposes, there are several weeks left, so many things will change, and that's barring a special session. But before we get into a couple of the school finance-related bills, just sort of as a reminder, in particular for the newer school board members, of sort of how the cycle works. Every 2 years, during the odd years, the legislature meets from January till sometime near the end of May. During that time, they developed, obviously, many, usually thousands of bills. But from our perspective, most importantly, there's always a school funding bill that derives from the from the session, the legislative session. And so what that does is then dictates the funding that we receive for the next 2 years. Okay, so it's always easy for us to budget in that second year of the biennium because we know what the funding system looks like. There's obviously some consistencies that you could bank on. It's going to be somewhat tied to property tax receipts and also per student funding, but it could really have some major changes from one session to the next. And so, again, just as a reminder, that's one of the reasons why we haven't had a board budget workshop. We're sitting here at mid-May. Another thing, which most of you probably know, but there's two different options for fiscal year purposes for Texas Public Schools. There's a September 1 and a July 1. okay? We are on a September 1 fiscal year, so we have the benefit of waiting, generally speaking, until the dust clears from the legislative session to have some firm numbers of which to work with. So that's a good thing. There are some other districts locally who are July 1. Tomball, for example, and Montgomery ISD are both July 1, whereas Conroe and us are both September 1. So if you've seen some headlines or news articles that may discuss some salary information for next year and or budgets, most of that is probably from those July 1 fiscal year folks because they don't have the luxury of waiting till the very end of the legislative session in terms of moving forward with some discussion, and we do. So that's a very good thing. Sorry, got hung up on that a little bit. So let's talk about a couple of the bills, and again, please keep in mind that these will look much different by the end. The good news is, obviously, as the board is well aware, there's a record surplus the state has to utilize. Of the money that they've sort of carved out for school district purposes, the vast majority of it is being applied towards property tax relief. Now, how that is accomplished, there's much disparity in the House and the Senate, which you will hear me say that on most of these at this point. But the good news is there are some funds remaining for increasing funding for school districts. Right now, the House adds approximately $5 billion for public ed, and the Senate, even though there's no language in their counter bill at this point, the budget to fund it is about $3.5 billion. We'll talk about this in a few slides, but for perspective purposes, the $3.5 billion actually would leave us just shy of the same buying power we had in 2019 due to inflation and things of that nature, but we'll take it nonetheless. So the bill that we have, which is a school funding bill at this point, is HB 100. I'll go through quickly the adjustments that is included in the bill in terms of the funding and the focuses there too. Again, understanding that this will likely change. There's a slight increase in the basic allotment, which is a primary funding source for all districts. There's adjustments for special programs from ADA, which is average daily attendance, to enrollment in most of our special programs, which would include special education, career and technology, etc. That doesn't go in effect until year 2, okay? And that is important, and we'll circle back in terms of the ADA enrollment thing. It does increase weighted funding for our special programs as well in terms of SPED, career and technology, etc. Increases our transportation allotment substantially. Allows districts who are not currently accessing 6 golden pennies on the M&O side of the tax rate to do so with board approval. And that is one thing that we have sort of been behind the 8 ball on because of our tax rate way back in 06 when we were very frugal. So if that remains true, that will definitely positively impact us. And we'll go into much more detail during the summer months on this. Requires commissioner to develop a standard for funding districts based on enrollment instead of attendance. What some may not know is, post-COVID, attendance rates statewide have really gone down. They've decreased substantially, and we believe it's simply a new environment where folks are willing to stay home, and being funded on that attendance, we believe is somewhat unfair because the cost to educate a student does not leave the room when the child's not there. So unfortunately, even with that focus or requirement of the commissioner, that supposedly will not go into effect until the following biennium, at which time they could completely nix. But it is encouraging. Of all of the money, any of the money that's related to the new HB 100 and Chapter 48, any increase, 50% of the increase, regardless of the funding source, must be spent on teacher pay raises, which is obviously a focus of this legislative session. That's not necessarily a bad thing because that's where we would be spending the money anyhow. That is a slight increase from the current HB 3 continuation where the requirement was 30% of any increase. Okay? Any questions on that? And I'm only going over 3 bills, guys, because, again, there's a lot of uncertainty. The other bill that was introduced by Senator Creighton that would have a huge impact, at least from a one-time perspective, is Senate Bill 9, which provides a one-time teacher retention allotment for the 23-24 school year for districts with less than 20,000 students, $6,000 per teacher. For districts greater than 20,000 students, it's $2,000 at this point. So we're encouraged about that. Hope that sees the light of day in some similar fashion after hashing it out with both chambers. It also increases the teacher incentive allotment salaries that we're expecting to come on board within the next couple of years. Creates a grant program to assist TRS costs related to hiring retired teachers as well. Provides state liability insurance for teachers, and directs TEA to develop training for strategic compensation. So, for whatever that's worth. All right, any questions on that bill? And finally, probably the bill that is causing the most turmoil and discussion at this point is Senate Bill 8, which is used to be referred to as the school voucher bill, but now it's sort of got a new nomenclature of ESA, which stands for Education Savings Account. And I can say this, at current, there is so much disparity between the two different chamber versions that, well, there's just a lot of uncertainty in terms of what this looks like at the end of the day. I'll tell you where we are today. The Senate version creates savings accounts monitored through the Texas Comptroller Office. Senate version is much more flexible than the current House substitute. The Senate plan offers current public school students and new students entering pre-K or K $8,000 per student per year to use for tuition at a private school. The Senate version, there are no ESAs offered for others, that being anyone who doesn't fit one of those criteria, primarily homeschooled or private schooled folks. Districts with less, in the Senate version, districts with less than 20,000 students are held harmless in terms of the state continuing to fund the district for any student that may be lost as a result of the ESAs. That started for 2 years, and they've adjusted that for 5 years. So the accounting associated with this, first and foremost, would be a nightmare. But that is a Senate version at this point. The House substitute that was just introduced this past Thursday says that any student, even if they are not currently enrolled in public school, would qualify for an ESA if they are either low income or have a disability. In addition, any currently enrolled public school student or one entering kinder or first for the first time would qualify for an ESA if they are eligible for a 504 plan or if they are enrolled in a D or F campus. So again, keep in mind the huge disparity between those two. And it's no surprise that yesterday, Governor Abbott released a statement Sunday morning, stated that the House plan did not provide enough flexibility and that the two chambers needed to go back to the drawing board, and or the House version needed to look a lot more like the Senate version. And failure to do that would mean that his willingness to call a special session would skyrocket. Those special sessions last for 30 days. The other, I think, important thing at this point is Senate Bills 8 and 9, which again are the school voucher bill and the one-time payment for teachers, which are the focus of Senate Bill 9, are two of the 5 bills that the Senate has made their $3.5 billion appropriation for increasing funding to Texas public schools contingent upon, which means at this point they're somewhat holding those two items hostage until the House comes up with a version that the Senate will agree to for voucher purposes. Sorry, that's a lot of information in a short period of time. So again, I guess, what does that mean, guys, at this point? I mean, obviously, we hope that the legislative session comes to an end in this regular session, which is May 29th. We do anticipate additional funding for public ed with restrictions and constraints therein. As I mentioned earlier briefly, The basic allotment in terms of per student funding has not increased since 2019, so all budgets are strained. We've had an inflation increase of just under 16% during that time. And so, but again, I think it's positive. There's a lot of unknowns with the ESAs and what that looks like at the end of the day. What we, know that we're going to do is what we always do. And that's when the funding becomes clear, we're going to focus the money in the classrooms, on the kiddos, on the programs, and on teacher pay to remain competitive. We've developed many different scenarios in spite of the funding picture not being clear so that we are ready to move forward quickly when the funding does become clear. We've looked at, comparing teacher salaries at multiple levels, making sure that we close those pay gaps and things of that nature. So I do want you to hear that we're not sitting back and waiting for the funding picture to become clear. We'll be ready to strike, and obviously the more money, the better, so to speak. But so anyhow, guys, I know that I went through a lot of information in a short period of time, and there's a lot of unknowns. But we wanted to let you know, what we know at this point. On the ESA bill, the House was supposed to hear testimony this morning, but it was based on invite only. That was at 8 o'clock this morning. Normally, we get updates throughout the day when there's something to convey in terms of when it might go to vote, et cetera. And I haven't heard anything today. So we're keeping an eye on it. And like I said, we'll keep our ear to the floor and be ready to move forward as soon as we know what the funding looks like. And I could go into other information about the property taxes, et cetera, but you probably don't want to hear that. But any questions?
Do you know approximately how many private school students there are in the state of Texas currently?
Jay, I do not offhand.
Well, I just doing some quick math. Just the reason I asked the question is it only takes 437,000 of that many students to use that whole $3.5 billion. So I can see that that's not really a public school funding issue.
Yeah, there's so many different ways to look at it. I know one of the biggest, arguments is, using taxpayer dollars to fund non-public event, venues, which, gets a lot of attention.
Takeaway, I think Eric left us with, and I've been visiting with Chuck about it is about as fuzzy as I have seen it in a while for this to clear up. It ends sine die next week, yeah. And so there's some other deadlines in the way right now that if they don't clear some of that stuff, there's a ton of bills dying left and right. And I watched a lot of the hearing today. They took invited testimony on the Senate, and they have re-wriggled, and Eric mentioned the governor's kind of deal of, you've messed with it too much, and even if you pass it, I'm not signing it. And so it is rapidly headed toward a special session, and I'm afraid that school funding is going to get hostage with a lot of other things in this deal. So that means we stand by, and our default is that we're back on HB3, current funding models to build a budget on, those kind of things. And then when it gets clear, and it's not that we hadn't played this show before. I mean, we've done that. We've built budgets late because of legislative sessions. It just gets interesting if they keep dragging it out. And the ESAs, it's quite a issue, and there's quite a divide between that right now. I don't know if they can breach it and figure out how to solve it. So that's just the takeaway, and we thought you guys needed to hear that if we're stalling a little bit on this budget stuff, it's a reason. We're waiting for some clarity from those guys, and it isn't looking real clear right now. So, all righty. Is there anything we can do to put in front of Mr. Bruner, slow him down a little bit? I mean, he's been trying to get up here so fast.
Come on, Mr. Bruner.
All right.
I'll be real quick. I just want to give you an update on Audubon Elementary School. We did start construction out there finally got through the architectural review process, and now the weather's hit. But we are working on the foundation. They're drilling piers, and we're getting underground in. So hopefully when this weather dries up, we should be able to catch up a lot of that schedule. Mag Junior High, 95% drawings are due pretty much any day now. Once we get those, Stewart Builders will get that project on the street during the month of June, and we'll be bringing it to the July board for guaranteed maximum price. So that updates those two. Tonight, a little bit later, we're going to talk about the guaranteed maximum price for Mag Intermediate number 3. But before we do that, I'm going to bring PBK up, and we're going to give you a little presentation and kind of guide you through what the school's going to look like. Come on up, Phil.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the school board and Dr. Stevens for having us here tonight. Tonight we wanted to show you the design for the intermediate school. I have a couple folks with us, good folks helping me out always. Jeff Chapman on my right is the project manager, and Jorge Tescarena is the leader in design. And so we've got a presentation to kind of show you, and then we'll walk around the building. So I'll let Jeff start.
Good evening. Thanks so much for having us. Tonight we'll talk to you a little bit about the site, the floor plans, the exterior and the interior design. This is our privilege to be the third building that we've designed for your district on this site. And so this new intermediate school will be built just south of the building we're standing in now. Don't often get to present next to a future building we're doing. And so once the building is completed, this building will be able to share some of the parking for large events that happen here with the new parking lots that we provide at the new intermediate. We're looking at providing 51 spaces on the west and 94 spaces to the north. Our visitor spots will be located in that north lot nearest the main entrance. We will be providing a learning courtyard and play area in between the wings of the school to the south, and you can see the fire lanes that surround. Our parent drop-off will come in off 2nd Street through the neighborhood. We'll be running an easement through some property there. There will be a gated entrance that will remain locked most of the day, and then during open and close during the drop-off and pickup periods. And then they will swing around, drop off at the main entrance, and then the buses will deliver off of 1488, arrive around the west parking lot, drop off, and then return to 1488 to head back to the transportation center. As you can see, the floor plan is very reminiscent to Magnolia Intermediate. And we thought the plan, or Tim and the group thought the plan worked so well, we did make some modifications along the way based on lessons learned, so we'll highlight those for you tonight. In the SPED area, we made some modifications based on the special education programs, changes in the pass room. In the double-loaded classroom corridors, we made all of the classrooms themselves larger based on the new budget we were able to provide. On the first floor, you'll see a large group instruction and a computer lab. In the fine arts wing, we added a 5th grade music room. And and then we doubled the height of the size of the gym. Also want to make note that we added some more faculty offices, and then throughout the building we added more faculty restrooms. Then on the 2nd floor, you'll see a very similar floor plan. Here we have a flex classroom, our GT, and the same complement of 6th grade classrooms and science labs. So with that, I'll turn it over to Jorge to walk us through the design.
Thank you. Like Jeff said, good evening. We're so happy to be here to present this. So I'm going to just touch briefly on the exterior and the interior renderings. Like Jeff was mentioning, this is very reminiscent of the previous intermediate, but it completely has a new facade and new interiors that are going to be the context of just this new intermediate school. So if you notice on this is our main entry point. So we have a nice big canopy that is going to cover the big entry that is more toward the right, but then also the library, so that is actually going to cover the whole, kind of that whole admin and library, so it actually has a nice, big, pronounced entry point for a new intermediate. And then if you see on the left, the lower canopy, that is going to be the continuation for the drop-off for the parents. So that's always a little bit lower, so it actually has more linear feet for the drop-off and pickup for the parent. Like Jeff was mentioning, that was that blue area at the main, kind of the main entry point. So this other wing, so if you can see almost toward the right, that was where we were looking at right now. That was the library and the admin. You kind of see a little bit that canopy. So what you're seeing now in this view is the continuation of that academic wing. So the one that Jeff was just showing right now, all those blue, that's actually all the classrooms. So all the windows that you're looking there, they're all the windows to the classrooms. The middle portion there is actually the stair that is going to connect the two levels. And then if we look at this other area, that is actually the end point. So we don't have any windows there because that's actually the teaching wall on those two classrooms on the top and on the bottom. But that middle portion is that flex area that if you have walked to school, we have it at the end. So if you notice, that kind of is reminiscent of the entry canopy, just obviously a little bit smaller, but we have a lot of windows in between, so it allows a lot of natural daylight in that kind of flex area. That's kind of the point where, you know, you're kind of looping in from one classroom wing to the other. And then if you notice too, a little bit of that articulation, if you notice on the big wall, we did a little bit of articulation with the brick because we didn't have any windows, so we wanted to add a little bit of interest. It's usually kind of popping out if you've seen it sometimes in some malls and other areas. It's just to add, again, a little bit of texture to that wall. So then on this side, this is actually on the bus drop-off. So that was the yellow that Jeff was alluding to. So that's toward that kind of staff parking. And that will be the main drop-off area. So if you notice, we also have another canopy that is low for, again, for the dismissal and arrival for the students. And that is actually leading us directly into the cafeteria. That is usually the staging where they actually go there and then they go into the classroom and vice versa when they're coming out of the school. Then this other area, that's actually on the inside. So if you remember kind of that 90-degree angle, where you're looking actually toward kind of the right is that learning stair that we have, kind of the social stair. So what you're looking at, that again, we have an additional canopy. That is the room that you're seeing behind it, that's actually the cafeteria. So that would allow, if needed, some additional exterior dining, but with a covered canopy. And then from there, you notice that the kind of the green on the foreground, that will take you to the playfields. And then on the interior, so we have, if you remember, again, the previous intermediate, very similar design to the previous intermediate. We have roll-up doors on the walls and entries for the library. So when the school is operational, it's actually very open and kind of flows in and out very easily. And in the middle of the library, that's kind of why we have that kind of burgundy kind of chipboard area on the wall and also on the ceiling. That kind of signifies the entry and the main circulation area, and then behind it is the kind of the workroom for the librarian. If you notice, behind it is where we have the majority of the bookshelves, because we're looking at the front. That's actually where the students are going to be walking a lot. So it's a little bit more kind of teaching areas, a little bit more collaboration. And as the library progresses, it becomes a little bit more kind of the more typical library, right, with the books and kind of more quiet area. So it's a little more noisy, and then it becomes a little more quiet as it goes toward the back or here toward the windows. So this is our dining that we were discussing right now. So actually in this one, we're looking at way toward the back. If you notice the glass and the TVs on the top, that's actually where the menu is going to be. So that's actually the serving lines. Toward the left, those are the restrooms. And then the doors that you see toward the back, that's actually one of the exit points for the dining commons. The one where the students are going to come in is the one that you don't see there, but it's actually toward the right of the picture. Then here is our gymnasium, very similar. We have a lot of bleachers, same thing, and then we have a lot of acoustical panel to not make it so noisy if we needed to have another event. Then the typical court, and then the kind of the dock sock that we have, kind of alluding to the colors for the new intermediate. Here is that, we call it learning/social stairs, so that's actually the point that it's almost outside of the library. That's what is taking you to the classrooms. If you notice on the hallways on the corridor, the walls, we have tile, and then the same thing on the flooring. So very similar to Audubon, this is a no waxable flooring system that we have, so hopefully it allows for better maintenance and less operational costs. So it's kind of the same idea that we learned again from Audubon, like Jeff was mentioning. And then the stairs will have it, typical stairs, and then on the other side you see kind of the bigger steps. That's kind of the learning/social stair aspect of it. And then I think lastly, this is the main entry point. So this is our secure vestibule. So if you notice, just before anybody can walk into the school, we have the doors that are closed. The window that you see a little bit there toward the right, that's our secure entry point that we have the transaction. If you show them your ID, they get badged, and then they will let you then go into the school after your badge. And then lastly, this is the classroom, very typical. I think everybody have always loved this type of design. So if you notice, toward the right, we have the teaching wall. We have the teacher there. And then at the kind of the left, then you see the blue wall. That's kind of that additional kind of reference wall that we have. They always like to have an accent wall color. Same thing on the flooring. And then if you notice, that's actually the typical casework that we have in the classrooms. You see it toward kind of the back on the left side. And then as well, we'll also have a little bit of an animation like we always like to do. So just to show you how this is going to be looking overall on the exterior and the interior.
I promise we'll change the song next time, honestly, really, you know? Todd, you like those fans, right? Those big fans.
Yes, absolutely. Love that outdoor learning area and the courtyard area with the fans and stuff on it. But it's so reminds me so much of already our intermediates, but we've got those improvements in it, and it just, I think if we could keep building these things, we get better and better at it. So kudos to PBK on the adding some with the input from our teaching staff and administration. I think we've got a great winning plan there. So thank you.
All the way along. Anybody have any questions, any comments we can answer?
What's the capacity?
1,200 students.
1,200?
Is that the same as we have now, I guess?
I think that's it.
Yeah?
It's
Yeah.
I'm excited about it. I'm excited about the utilization of this space here. I assume we're seeing maybe more and more of that where districts are utilizing, the space they have with more campuses as a part of it. It's sometimes to be able to spread out helps sometimes, but it's also great utilizing the land you have available. And we'll make sure the traffic flow was, where Tim, I think, was already meeting with TxDOT today and some plans of making sure we got a good traffic mitigation plan in place. So I'm excited. Can't wait.
Great job.
Okay, thank you all. We appreciate it.
Thank y'all. Excellent work. Okay, we're now to our consent agenda, and this is items that are routine and enacted by one motion unless we need separate discussion on it, or if there's any questions on it. I assume everybody saw all of this. So if there's not any questions, we need a motion that we approve consent agenda items A through E. Motion by Chuck, seconded by Sonia. All those in favor? Motion passes. Thank you. All right, Mr. Bruner, you're back.
So now what I'd like to do is ask you to consider our guaranteed maximum price for the facility that you just got a nice overview on. Essentially, Stewart Builders, I think back on the April 26th, took bids, public bids. They've put together a package. They've worked very hard on it. Senior project manager, one of the best project managers in the Houston Metroplex, in my opinion, Kerry Hamilton with Stewart Builders, is here tonight to represent them. He and their estimator, Doug Outler, have done a tremendous amount of work. They built Magnolia Intermediate and Bear Branch Intermediate, so I think this was a pretty easy project for them to sort of get a good grasp on. Tonight they brought us a guaranteed maximum price of $582,971. This is roughly about $5 million under budget. Obviously, this will be, I think, something pretty easy for you to look at and feel good about. We certainly feel good about it. There's probably a number of reasons that have that this project is where it's at. A lot of it's being driven by market costs, which have kind of leveled off. This is a repeat project. I think that makes it a little more, conducive to costs coming down. And also, we're building on a site that's already developed. I think those are the three primary factors that have brought this price in where it's at. Obviously, we're thrilled that it's this far under budget. So tonight we're going to ask that you approve this budget and we can get started. Any questions before we?
Well, so it may not be a fair question, Tim, but Magnolia Intermediate and Bear Branch Intermediate, do you remember off the top of your head ballpark what they cost? And maybe it's apples and oranges, I'm not sure.
I do. Mag Intermediate was around $23 million. Does that sound about right? Bear Branch Intermediate was about 21. Of course, we had an existing facility there that we added on to. That gives you an idea of how the cost have increased. I was looking at some of the bond programs that passed in May. There are, intermediate schools, middle schools that are, they've got $108 million budget. So,
yeah,
it's all relative. But this comes in about. We've also, not on top of this 137,000 square foot roughly building, we've added about a 5,000 square foot outbuilding that we're looking at that we've got included in this guaranteed maximum price. Factoring that total square footage, we came in somewhere around about 335 a square foot, which is most certainly below the range that we anticipated. We anticipated this being somewhere in the 350 to 375 square foot range. So,
Which is not uncommon to see that number, the high threes out there.
Absolutely. I mean, I think PBK can stand up here and tell you stories how folks are contacting them about how we're building at the cost we're building. So these numbers are certainly low compared to the market right now. But no, they're nowhere close to what we did in 2016.
It's just a personal side. I think it has a lot to do with our design, that it's designed for efficiency and it bills fairly. Obviously, the repeat helps, but there's something there in the simplicity of what we have put together that allows for a better price probably on it.
Absolutely. I think, a building that's easy to build you're going to see lower costs. I'm sure Kerry would agree with that as well.
Yeah.
I think that's what we've designed here. A building that's easy to build. And I think these guys want to build it, and I think that helps. And the market has flattened out.
No, thank you. I'm not surprised. Thank you.
Any other questions?
All right, then we need a motion that the board approve the GMP of $47,582,971 for the construction of intermediate school number 3 as presented by Stewart Builders. Motion by Chuck, seconded by Travis. All in favor? That motion passes. Thank you, Tim and team.
Terry, we're excited for Stewart Builders to have another project, and you guys get after it out there. Hopefully the weather will cooperate a little bit, and we're excited to see that thing get started and moving forward. Yes, sir. Mr. Wonderful.
All right.
So with focus on our third intermediate school, you'll note that our outstanding architects mentioned a moment ago that the decision was made that the best location for car rider entrance was 2nd Street, which is located just to our east in the Royal Oaks subdivision. So I wanted to show you just quickly sort of what that looks like from a map perspective. Architects probably won't be too jealous of my maps here, but anyhow, if you look to our east, it's the Royal Oaks subdivision. You sort of follow the entrance in and then take a left, or excuse me, take a right, go left on your map, and then come down Octavia Drive, and then that runs into 2nd Street. And so 2nd Street will go directly into our property eventually. And again, we'll show this quickly. They showed a form of this that was much clearer, but you'll see to the southeast, that's where 2nd Street comes in. Okay. So conceptually, that's simple. Unfortunately, it has not been quite that simple. Right now, the paved right-of-way of 2nd Street ends, as you can tell with this map, where Karen Drive takes off. Okay. So we began a considerable amount of research on our end and also address the county, to try to define ownership of this small piece of land that has no structure. There's no one living on it. We found surveys that dated back to 1967, which is when the development originally began in the Royal Oaks subdivision. And the surveys then and the surveys since then that we did when we built Parkway and such showed the right-of-way extending to our property, or at least the intention of the right-of-way to extend, but the current pavement does not. Okay, so again, looking into it with more detail with the county, basically what we determined is that we've got a record exists of right-of-way conveyance in that small area by the developer to the county, but there's no record of acceptance by the county. Okay, and so what that means is that we need to look at alternatives to be able to take ownership of that piece of land so that we can extend the drive. So the manner by doing so, this shows a little bit different picture there where you can see, and Mr. Cruz did this for us. So you can see where 2nd Street ends, where it shows the current paved area, and then the undeveloped land which extends to our property. Okay, so, and looking at the best approach and speaking with our real estate lawyers as well, we believe the utilization of condemnation or eminent domain is the best approach. Let me mention this again, there is no known owner of the land, so we are not encroaching on any individual's property that we are aware of. It's an odd sort of situation, but basically we go through the normal processes of condemnation, which means we've already performed a survey and an appraisal of the property. The next step is a board resolution. Assuming the board approves it tonight, the step after that is to request a special commissioner hearing in Montgomery County to set a value for the land, which again, keep in mind, we've already had an appraisal done and it's about $31,000. Just shy of that. Then we make a bona fide offer to the court. We pay the court for the amount that we agree to. The funds go into the court registry, and then we take possession of the property. This still allows for any sort of odd situation in the future where an owner shows up that again is undefined at this point and can prove ownership. Then that individual would be able to receive the funds from the court registry in Montgomery County. So we don't anticipate that would happen based on the drawings that we've seen and the surveys and things of that nature. So again, somewhat of an odd situation or unique situation, but I know Mr. Bruner, even though it's going to cost a small amount of money, is excited about the fact that we will own the entrance, which means that we have more flexibility to utilize gates and things of that nature. So it's our recommendation in order to be able to allow the car riders to drive in where we need them to approve the board resolution to begin the condemnation process.
I had a question. Just to clarify, so currently, there's not a house on the piece of property or business currently on it?
That's correct, yes, ma'am. And I'll go back to, again, I know this is very crude to Google Map, but there is no structure, there's no person, there's no known owner.
Okay.
We have looked back through records, like I said, back to 1967. There's not even a structure to the north, if you will. There's a small one you can see on this crude map, just to the north of 2nd Street there, and there is a residence to the south. We don't believe that this will encroach on any existing individual property or business. And again, there's no known owner at this point. We believe the intention. I mean, the survey showed the right of way extending to our property. So we believe that was the intention of the developer. Montgomery County, following the letter of the law, there's no true record that exists that can be found that shows acceptance. So, we don't really blame them for following the letter of the law, but we do believe that was the intention from the beginning.
So nobody's paying property tax on this. There's no record in the Montgomery County Appraisal District. There's no.
That's correct. Yes, sir. We uncovered every rock that we can think of to make sure that we're doing this right.
Have we reviewed the property transfer rights for the adjacent properties, that none of those surveys would include that right-of-way in their property transfer rights for the titles for lots 192 to the north and lots 160 to the south?
Yes, sir. We reviewed the surveys that were provided by Mr. Cruz.
I would say that a title search on those two properties would be in order if they haven't been done.
They did a title search of that entire.
Not just the right-of-way, the two adjacent properties as well.
Mr. Winkler was helping us along in the beginning of this as our property acquisition consultant, and he did perform that research on those two properties. Yes, sir. To the point where when we were looking at it from the beginning, we considered approaching the property owner to the north about bringing it that direction because of the unknown of where the anticipated right of way exists. But yes, sir, sorry, I fumbled. But Mr. Winkler did have those before. Yes, sir, feel confident with that.
So after all the research, there's no currently known owner?
That's correct.
Okay.
So if we talk.
The route that we're taking, which basically, puts the payment in an escrow type form, allows for an owner to come forward if one exists, but there's no record anywhere through the title searches, through in-depth analysis and research by folks who do this for a living, and through approaching and requesting information from the county as well. So, yes,
All the original plats of the subdivision showed that right-of-way running all the way to you can see up here where First Street runs, and First Street doesn't actually go all the way to that boundary.
No, I've looked at it. I understand what you're talking about.
And again, the plats we've seen show 2nd Street going all the way over there. It's just that the county, they conveyed it, the county never accepted it's not in their record, so that's why we're here. So no, that was right away. No one has owned any of that. And to the fact nobody has done anything in it, it's just overgrown ditch down there right now. So but it will certainly, with us, being able to clear it up and make sure the ownership is certain there, we can work with the county to get it extended and put us a gate on there, and that'll be our car rider.
What is the width of that right-of-way, the north-south?
Six-
It may be on this. I know that the total property is just under 11,000 square feet.
60 feet?
10,597.
But is that a 60-foot right-of-way on those streets?
It's a 60-foot right-of-way.
60-foot right-of-way? And that, right now in that subdivision, that includes a fairly narrow street with open ditches on both sides. Have we talked to the county at all about any street improvements in that area?
We're go ahead.
Yeah, we've talked with the county from the very beginning with the questions associated with the right-of-way. I think they initially had some stacking concerns as well that we sort of put to rest when you go back and look at the drawings and take into consideration the loop around the north side of the intermediate school and the space that's provided for stacking within the parking lot. So we talked to them about some of that. Now, specifically about the shoulders, et cetera, I don't think that we have at this point.
Go back, I'll just clarify some of it. Go back to your, what we're going to try and do is not let traffic double up. So they would actually come in and they'd go down this Octavia to 2nd Street. When we come out of 2nd Street, we would go back down over to Glenda and take Glenda Drive out. So our traffic would never be doubled up on that road. It'd all be single traffic as it's moving. And we'll work with the county if we need to do any paving in here to help expedite some of that.
Fair enough. I was really just looking at that 2nd Street stretch from Octavia to the school property or to the new right-of-way where if one of those property owners decided to park in the street, it kind of mucks things up a little bit, right? So given that the right-of-way is 60 feet and the street's currently about, 22 or 3 feet wide maybe, that's probably a conversation we'd want to have.
And Eric, I think, mentioned it. We believe that we're going to have enough stacking space in the school that this is going to be traffic that's going to be moving. And so.
Fair enough. Again, it's very reminiscent of the property that currently has that model school where we come in from the side street there, where it gets a little interesting in the mornings or evenings when we have car riders, right? So
we're going to try and make
trying to get in front of that a little bit, maybe.
Absolutely. Well, we got all the support and help of the commissioner on whatever we can do to make the situation any better.
So again, it's our recommendation to approve the resolution.
What were the considerations besides that? Because it seems like a long and winding road to get to the school, and that may be the best option, but what was the other?
I think, and Mr. Berger could probably speak to this more specifically than I can, but the really only other viable option was to do something with the main entrance that exists right here, which would have been cutting into this median and creating even more traffic and an already difficult situation for ingress and egress at this time. In particular, in consideration of what we know junior high coming in on the other side of the street as well. So I don't know that, in a perfect world, it would have been our first choice, but it really is the only choice at this point. There's an easement on the west side of the property, but we have some building structure issues that were created from some of the new facilities, Kitty Academy, et cetera. So the easement that exists really did us no good at this point in terms of being an option.
Yeah, the other alternative that is that you'd have elementary and intermediate traffic all coming through that center drive. And Tim, they looked as we were going to have to widen that center drive, and it would and bus traffic also. It would have been everything coming in there, and they overlap enough. We would have had traffic stacked up in there. So this separates it, and the great thing about it as Eric was saying, if we're not careful, that intersection right straight, across from right here with the junior high on the other side, of course, could become quite a congested mess at certain times of the day but the junior high traffic will actually, car rider traffic will be entering the junior high at the far end of that property, so it won't be right here at the middle of this intersection. The bus traffic will come into that main traffic section right there. And with all of the intermediate car rider traffic coming up here through 2nd Street, it will never enter, that intersection at all. They're going to be, entering from the beginning of that subdivision and exiting out there. And what Tim is going to continue to work with is TxDOT presenting an entire plan of that so they can look at their medians and figure out what kind of signals and medians are going to work best for that flow. And the elementary traffic will continue to enter from stacked up on the other side over there. So I think it's going to keep it all separated. This provides for the best way to get that traffic in different places. So, Tim, anything to add on that? Well, I am the superintendent.
We have to blow up this main boulevard coming into this campus because we needed 3 ways in. And that's car rider traffic, elementary, car rider traffic, intermediate, and bus traffic. And even if we got the 3 lanes in on that main boulevard, you still have the issue of intermediate and elementary parents stacking, along 1488 and trying to get into their lane when they go in there. Bringing them in from 2nd Street is a way better option. And like Dr. Steve said, the junior high will have another boulevard on the other side of 1488, and so that will be where our bus flow, because there's a light there, in and out. Really is the best option.
All right, if there's no more questions, we need a motion that MISD adopt a resolution authorizing the use of power of eminent domain to acquire the simple title to the approximately 10,597 square feet of real property consisting of undeveloped road located at the northwest corner of 2nd Street and Karen Street in Royal Oaks on 1488 unrecorded subdivision, south of 1488 and east of 149 in Montgomery County, Texas, to facilitate access to public school facilities as presented. Need a motion. Chuck, and then Travis seconds. All in favor? All right, that motion passes. Thank you, sir. Okay, Dr. Todd, I think this one's yours.
This is just some housekeeping reappointments of board members for the Westwood Magnolia Improvement District, and we have always had 2 members appointed, James Patrick Robinson and Tim Weems. Are either one of those 2 present tonight? Didn't see either one of them. But those are our appointments to the Improvement District, and most of you are aware that the Improvement District collects 2 pennies on the sales tax part of everything that's in the, actually the Parkway area here that's part of that Improvement District, and I know that where its exact boundary is. It, I think, has another maybe 5 to 10 years worth of where the city of Conroe has granted them to continue to be able to collect that for improvements within that boundary. And so they do a lot of things. They help the fire department out. They've done things with roads. A lot of the improvements in front of Ellisor Elementary was funded by the improvement district. And so, again, we have the ability to appoint 2 board members to that. And you have the bios of Mr. Robinson and Mr. Weems. And it's my recommendation that we continue to approve them to serve on that committee and board and make some great things happen for that part of our school district and the community at large. Millions of dollars have been put back into the community because of that, and I'm thankful we have the ability to be able to, influence a couple folks that are on it.
All right, everybody good? Okay, if we need a motion to approve the reappointment of Timothy Weems and James Patrick Robertson to once again serve on the Board of Directors of Westwood Parkway Improvement District as recommended by Dr. Todd Stevens. Motion by Sonia, seconded by Dasha. All those in favor? That motion passes. Thank you very much. All right, what else we got, sir?
I'm sure going to some kind of award for the superintendent tonight.
That's right.
I think executive session.
All right, sir. Well, I want to thank you all for everything you do. And, we talked about this legislature thing, and I've heard it said that, they meet every 2 years for 144 days. And I've heard it said it would be better if they met for 2 days every 144 years. But I don't guess we can affect that. But okay. The board will now recess to move into closed executive session for the purposes permitted by A, pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.071, consultation with attorney. B, pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.072, discussion of purchase, sale, exchange, or value of real property. And finally, pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.074, personnel discussion and recommendations.
We'll have to see how it goes, but normally in June, we kind of go into recession. We don't have a board meeting. And so for our principals, thank you for another wonderful year and your support being at these board meetings. And I think when we just give the principals off that meeting too, since we're not going to be here, we'll just let them take that off.
That's
in
right.
June.
I second that.
All right. Okay. No motion necessary for that.
That's right.
We appreciate y'all.
Thank you very much, y'all. All right, we're back. I need a motion that we adjourn this meeting. Sonia, motion, seconded by Dasha. All in favor? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.